Alright, what's going on YouTube? Today I'll be doing a cooling fan on a 2008 Ford Edge. Got the fan right here. The whole assembly with the fan controller on it and all the wiring came with it. And my fan ain't working. So I'm going to do the video two different ways today. I'm going to be doing a time-lapse video and I'm going to be doing like a normal video. And I'll talk over on the time lapse. I'm going to try to split up two different videos. I'm trying something different here. I think sometimes these videos go too long. So here we go. We're just going to do this one on a normal scale, normal time. And then we'll do time lapse. And I'm going to see what works better and what people like better. Anyways, let's see what we can do here. Basically, you're going to have to remove. The fan's going to be pretty easy to pull out. You just got to get a few things out of your way. It looks like you can't even see the fan, but it's not that bad. So the air box has a clamp on it that I think is going to be stopping me down on this side. And then this little tube that runs down to the bottom of the air box. And then a couple fittings and a whatnot. And I think I'm going to be able to do it all. I'm going to be using my cordless ratchet, but you could use a regular ratchet with an 8mm socket. And you might need a pair of pliers. And you might need a screwdriver. I don't know yet, because I haven't done it yet. So here we go. So first we're going to start off with removing these two bolts here. And this bracket. Let's move that out of the way. Just take this up top, get out of the way. Now that should be out of our way. I'm going to pop the air box loose here. Alright, pull your air filter out. Well, this thing probably snaps in the way it looks because I'm not seeing anything. I don't see any bolts holding it in. So, let's see what happens here. Set the camera up here for a second. Sorry for the bad video shot here. Looks like it should snap out of there, but I don't want to break it. There we go. Yeah, it just pops out. So if you see what I got going here, I popped it out. It's just got two pops on the bottom of it. Alright, so we got that out of our way. Now look, all the room here. Oh my goodness. Should be pretty easy from here. Alright. Now, basically this controller is going to be with your new one. So we're just going to have to get this plug off. It's got a snap on the back side, where my thumb's at right here. So, you know, basically, I'm going to take my other camera here, get it in the frame for my time-lapse part of the video. And if you want to hop over and watch that, check it out. I'm going to be doing like a little voiceover as I'm doing the repair. Just give it a wiggle. You got to be careful, it's all plastic, but just give it a little wiggle. Pop it off. And then there you go. Alright, now I got two little snaps holding this wiring harness on top. There's one. And then there's another one. And that's about the only other thing that's going to stop us from just unscrewing this thing, getting it the hell out of here. So I think I'm gonna try it with a pair of pliers. And the thing is with these little plastic things, right? They break really easy. And honestly, just between me and you, if they break, I'm not really sweating it because this harness is not really going to go anywhere. And if you want to secure it back with some zip ties or whatever, it's not a big deal. Now on this one, I might use a flathead screwdriver because I can't really get to it and I'll have to get underneath it. Anyway, pop it out. And that's out of your way. So when you're getting things out of your way to pull something out, the biggest thing is you want to get everything out of the way that is necessary to make the job pretty easy to do, right? But at the same time, you don't want to be pulling off a bunch of stuff you don't need to. Like, yeah, I could pull off the upper radiator hose right here, but I'm going to try to do it without doing that because that's just, you know, I mean, I could put some hose clamp pliers on the engine side and just let the radiator drain down and just pull it off the radiator or whatever. But I think with the amount of room I got here, I should be able to pull this out through the top. So I'm gonna get my 8mm in here. Get it loose. try not to drop this screw since I'm using one hand. Take the bolt out, pop this up, go to the other side. Alright, I was able to get on it without an extension. If you want to use like a 3-inch extension or whatever, go right ahead. Whatever works better for you. Alright, now the only thing really besides I broke the end of my oil fill tube, my oil dipstick, the plastic piece, I broke it off. So I'm gonna have to get a dipstick now. So watch that when you're reaching down in there and don't break that off. Best way to avoid that, I should have just pulled the dipstick to begin with. Sometimes things slip your mind. Anyway, so you know, this is the real deal here, right? I'm not gonna make any bullshit up for you. I broke my oil dipstick. Anyway, so now I was looking underneath this before I did the video, and yeah, there's no bolts holding it in on the bottom. It's just hinged on the top of the radiator. It's just hinged right on top, if you can see. So pull it off those hinges, and it's gonna be loose. So this is the part where I might have to back up for a second and sit the camera down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Anytime you can avoid getting underneath the vehicle on some of these cars is definitely a good time, because I did take the box for the cooling fan, lay it down here just in case I got to get underneath it and I got a gravel driveway. So anytime you can avoid getting underneath the car without fucking anything up, go right ahead, right? So I'm gonna slip it. Okay, when you're watching, just watch and make sure you're not getting hung on anything. You might get hung on a wiring harness a little bit here in the front. As long as this wiring harness is out of the way on your right. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a tight squeeze, but it's going to come out of here. I'll make it come out one way or another. You know, the biggest thing too underneath, if you look underneath, just make sure you're not hitting your radiator on anything with the fan. Now you got more room on this right side looking at the engine, so you probably are going to have to get a little more forgiveness off of that side. I mean, if you want to pull your upper radiator hose, you can, but I still don't see much of a reason for it. So I got a couple things going on here. Basically, I'm close to the radiator on the bottom, but just stop what you're doing every couple seconds and just make sure you're not hanging on anything else, because you're probably going to have spots where you're hung on stuff. I'm getting hung on the AC lines, or the trans cooler lines on the bottom here. Or no, those are AC lines. AC lines for the condenser on the front there. Alright dudes, had a camera malfunction there, sorry. Camera fell over. But basically, I had to come down on this side and then kind of turn it as I was when I was coming in. So when I pulled it out, I was actually pulling it out straight up and down. So on the old fan, you don't need to take anything off of it, but you'll notice there's no screws on the bottom. All right, so on the bottom, you know, when you pull your fan out, just make sure you don't have anything you know, up against the radiator, because right now would be a good time to pull anything out that you have. And also to note that you got these two little hinges that it sits down into. So that's how it's held on the bottom. That's why you have no screws on the bottom, which, hey, that's great for me. Some things they make easier on the new cars, some things are harder, but on this one, the biggest problem you have is because it's plastic. So we want to avoid breaking anything as we're putting it back in, as I did with my old dipstick tube. But now I'm gonna have to go buy a dipstick tube. All right, that is sweet. Anyways, let's get going with the install. So make sure you're putting it in right. If we're gonna put it in standing up like this, put your controller to the top, because it's gonna swing down to the right side, your right side. Make sure you hop over your wiring harness. Avoid the radiator. I mean, it ain't gonna hurt if you just touch it. You just don't want to get it in a bind against the radiator. So I'm gonna get it down like that. Now I'm gonna try to turn it a little bit. Your fan motor on the one that's got the little piece of foil on it, the one that goes on your left side when you're looking at the engine, is going to be bumping up against your exhaust manifold. So you're going to have to find a way to wiggle it around it. I'll pull up on the driver's side a little bit here, wiggle this around here, and then you'll know when you get it down in there because it'll be nice and loose. And then now you're going to have to lift up on it. Voila, it's in place. All right. Just make sure you got just make sure you got it on your hinges on both sides and the hinges on the bottom. I can see I'm on this one down here. The one where you remove the airbox, you'll be able to see a lot better than the one on the passenger side. The one on the passenger side is definitely harder to see, but then make sure you get the top ones over the top and hinged on the front, like this right here. I don't know if you can see that too good. Right here, it's hinged over the top of the back of this lip on the radiator. We're gonna go back with these screws. Go ahead and get it tightened up. Starting them up with your finger first would probably be my best recommendation. Get them started with your fingers. So I got both my bolts started. One of them's right here. And these do not need to be really tight because it's plastic, so you'll just break them. You know, don't want to do that. But basically we're gonna hook up that plug. It's all hooked in underneath. Snap our wiring harness back in, and then put our upper radiator hose over the top, and put our air box back on, and then we'll be all set. So I'm gonna try to keep this camera with me as I go. Pop that on. It won't really click, but you'll tell when it goes in all the way. Now, pop these plastic clips in that hold this harness across the top. As long as you don't break them off, it's a good idea to make sure you snap them back in, because all it does is secure the harness. If you do break them, just get you a zip tie and zip tie them suckers up. Take your radiator hose, put it over the top, and then put your dipstick back in, because when you do this job, remove your dipstick and that won't happen to you. You know, but that's why I make a video, hey, is try to help somebody out. So make sure you remove the dipstick, and all that problem will disappear. So had to get a little crap out of that air box, man. It was really dusty. For the air box, I'm probably gonna have to put the camera down, but basically I'm gonna take it this direction, and I'm gonna shove it down in the hole, turn it, and then it's gonna pop in to these two poppers on the bottom that just hold it in place, and then put our bracket back on. Alright guys, so I just gotta get this one started on the bottom. Had to use 2 hands to get it started. I just dropped the bolt and had to pick it back up so I got the right shot. So and there you go. Basically, let's make sure everything's tight, air box is tight and all that, secure, and that, you know, you got your fan tight and plugged in and everything's routed right. Make sure your wires aren't pinched anywhere where you move the harness around, and that's pretty much it. So there we go. All right, so people might ask, well, how do I know my fans are bad or if it's another problem, or what if I change my fans and that didn't fix it? Well, you shouldn't change your fans until you know it's your fans. So this is where power goes in, this is where the power goes out on the controller. If your controller is bad, then you won't have your voltage coming out of here properly. You should have around 12 volts coming to your fans, all right? So if this is bad, you won't have voltage coming out. And if you check on this side of the plug, I'm sorry, my camera, if you check on this side of the plug and you don't have any voltage, then I would be going back and checking my fuse. So take your multimeter. It's use a multimeter, don't use a test light. If all you have is a test light, that's fine, but you're kind of halfway in the woods trying to figure it out if you're just using a test light. So you want to have a multimeter. If you got 12 volts here, check on this side. If this side's good, your fans are bad. So then you just buy the whole thing together. If you don't got 12 volts out of here, I'm pretty sure you might be able to buy this controller. I haven't tried to, so I don't really know, to be honest. But if you don't have 12 volts coming out of here, check your fuse. Oh, and I guess also too, it could be your controller and the dash, I guess, possibly. I'd kind of, usually the weakest point fails, and this Chinese freaking plastic electric motor shit is always the first thing to fail, pardon my French. And if you can get an aftermarket brand, I got a cheaper brand, Tong Yang or something. When you're buying electric motors, fan motors, so I got Tong Yang, bought it off the internet, hopefully it works good. But that's what I bought. But VDO makes good stuff. If you get a aftermarket blower motor or something, get a VDO. They're quieter than some of the cheaper brands. On the fan motors for the engine, I'm not really too worried about it because it's outside. So anyways, this is the video. You know, like, share, and subscribe. Check out my time-lapse version. Let me know what you guys think. All right? Until next time, I'll have some more videos. I work more on I got a 2013 F-150 and a 2008 Ford Edge, so on my home videos, that's what I work on. Looking at doing some other videos, but basically, you can do it cheaper yourself. It's not that hard to do. So, you know, this is hands-on approach. Have a good one.